I very much remember the Monteverdi Choir and the English Baroque Soloists Bach pilgrimage back in 2000. I was just coming to the end of my undergraduate studies at the Royal Academy in London, and this monumental undertaking that the groups and John Eliot had just embarked upon was a real eye-opener to me as a student. So 2000 was quite a while before I joined EBS, but I don't think John Eliot will remember this. I actually did sneak in on one project because when they recorded and performed Cantata 1, the Morgenstern Cantata, right at the last minute it was decided that they were going to use a bumper, an assistant first horn. So I got drafted in right at the last moment. And I was so green, I'd never heard that cantata before, and it swiftly became one of my all-time favourites. But it was a real treat and a real special opportunity when John Eliot and the group returned to what I think was the last missing jigsaw piece of the Bach pilgrimage from 2000, which was when we performed and recorded the Ascension cantatas back in, I think it must have been 2013. The one work I was involved in for this project was the Cantata 128, Auf Christi Himmelfahrt allein, which has some really very splendid, very typical Bach writing for two horns. And it's not a surprise that Bach chooses to use horns in this piece because it's a bit of a cliche, but with Ascension comes the major tonalities rather than the minor tonalities which would be associated with the works, the Passions from that period. And the horn is really in its absolute element in major keys, so it's not a surprise that Bach uses them for the Ascension cantata. Also, we're in G, which is a really bright, brilliant key, and there's such a surge of positivity in this work, a real rush to the heavens in the jubilant way that Bach uses the horns. Especially there's this little fanfare figure at the end of the main ritornello from the opening chorus, which is such a rush. But I think the real treat of this cantata is the final chorale. And Bach writes, again, this is a real Bach trick with horn writing. He writes these two very independent horn parts to accompany the four-part chorale of voices and the rest of the instruments. And the first horn kind of ends up on this descant line above the rest of the ensemble, which is such a beautiful bit of scoring for the instrument. These cantatas are such worlds in themselves, and it's such a tremendous way to get to understand the genius of Bach. And I'd just thoroughly recommend that every music lover should have the complete set. I don't think one could ever tire of them all.